Hello, everybody. Today we're going to take a look at the 538 presidential prediction, and this is going to be for late August. And 538 is definitely not the final word on the election, and it could easily change as we get closer, but they do take a comprehensive look, so let's see what they say. This is updated as of yesterday afternoon, August 27th, and they simulate the election 1,000 times, and then they simplify it to out of 100, and Harris gets 59 of those wins, and Trump gets 41, and less than 1 in 100 chance that nobody gets to 270. So as of right now, that is an edge for Harris. It's not overwhelming, but in this, you'd rather have the 59 than the 41. I think it's fair to go back to 2016 and point out how a lot of forecasters were way off. It doesn't mean it's going to happen this time. It could be off in the other direction. Maybe Harris wins by a landslide, but things could shift, and in the end, it could also underestimate Trump yet again. Another way to look at it is, out of the 1,000 simulations, they estimate that Harris has a 58.9% chance of winning. Trump has a 40.7%. Again, Harris has the edge, but how many times in your life have you done something that you've had a 6 in 10 chance of winning, but you've come up short? It happens all the time. This is no different. And back when they had Trump in the lead over Biden, it was the same story. There was no guarantee that Trump was going to be able to hold that lead and then come out with the win on election day. Now, here's the chart of all the simulations, and it's kind of a crude looking bell curve. You've got a few fringe scenarios on the far left where Harris gets 527, Trump only gets 11. I don't know how that happens, but I guess there's a 1 in 1,000 chance it does. And then on the far right, you've got Trump with 524 and Harris with 14. I also can't imagine how that would happen, but either way, the focus is going to be here toward the middle. This first stack of simulated dots just to the left of the winning line, that is a lot higher for Harris. So what that tells me is a lot of these scenarios are just barely giving it to Harris. And you can see many of the electoral margins in these are only about 4 or 6 electoral votes. So she's just clearing 270. So there's plenty of different possible outcomes. Let's go down here. This says, what are the latest national polls influencing the forecast? It says they adjust their polls for House effects, mode, partisanship, voter likelihood, and third parties, then weight them based on their firm's 538 pollster rating and how often it polls. So they've got a complicated formula, and I usually say with everybody's formula or whatever system they use, it's going to work until it doesn't. So these are the national polls that they're showing, and they pretty much go back through the past week, and Harris is leading in all of them. The lowest is a couple of them with Harris at a 2-point lead, and then this one from Kaplan has her up 7. Now, given that Trump has lost the popular vote 2 times, and it all pretty much comes down to a handful of states in the Electoral College, it's highly expected that Trump could easily lose the popular vote by 2 or 3 points and still win in the Electoral College. Now, the accuracy of the polls in the end are going to be highly up for debate. It's also possible Harris is still on a honeymoon period for the time being, but I would guess that Harris would need to see herself up by at least 3 points in the national popular vote average to start feeling a little bit comfortable. But that also might not be enough. It could turn into 4 or 5 points. Next, their latest update here is on August 26th, and they mentioned on August 23rd, Kennedy announced he was suspending his campaign and endorsed Trump. The endorsement from Kennedy at a 4% in the popular vote in their forecast has the ability to give Trump a crucial boost in battleground states. It says their model forecasts a 4 in 10 chance that Kennedy's vote share in November would be larger than the margin for either Trump or Kamala Harris in at least one decisive state. Both candidates will likely welcome that probability going to 0, but they go on to say it is difficult, however, to provide a quick analysis of RFK's impact on the race. On the one hand, his impact on our polling average is small, and Kennedy's voters mostly otherwise look like strong partisans, but it's not so easy for a forecasting model to react to such a sharp change in the race, mainly because it needs data. So that is yet another curveball thrown into this race. We just don't know how much impact Kennedy's endorsement is going to have. It's expected to help Trump very slightly. Maybe it's only half a point, maybe it's 1 point, maybe it's more, but that's the kind of thing we've got to give another week, 2, maybe 3 weeks to see how it turns out. So they can't even account for that change in this prediction. I think once we get past Labor Day, and if there's that first debate, then I think we could start to take a closer look at the polls. However, at this point, I'm still going to wait until we get into October. There's just been way too much volatility. The closer we get to the election, I think the data should be a little bit more clear. So let's see this forecast timeline. It only goes back about a month, but right at the beginning, Trump did have the slight edge. Then over those 4 weeks, it's flipped, and Harris has started to open up a lead. And they've rested on 289 for Harris, 249 for Trump. If you look at the popular vote estimation, there Harris is up by 3.8, 51.9 to 48.1. So I think that's starting to get just a little bit outside of where Harris needs to be to feel like she can actually win in the Electoral College. But it's still going to be very, very close, and this is also still as of late August. And then the win probability has also flipped. Trump had the small edge into early August. Then it's been a slew of positive polling and favorable media coverage for Harris. Now down below, they run the simulation in every state. So I'm going to save you some time and take that data and apply it to my own map. And my margins are safe for 10 or more points, likely 5 to 10, lean under 5 but more than 1 point, and tilt 1 point or less. So this actually comes out to 287 247 for Harris and 251 for Trump. But there's 4 margins on here that are very close and under 1 point. That's going to be Nevada and Arizona for Harris, and also North Carolina and Georgia for Trump. The Rust Belt states are all over 1 point margins for Harris. A lot of these are borderline, such as New Mexico. That was right at a 10.0 margin, so that could go likely if you go up to 10 with your ratings. Also, Texas was 5.0, so again, that's borderline lean likely. But other than that, the map looks pretty much how we might expect. If we look at a state like Maine, we saw that great poll for Harris not too long ago. Even though she was winning in the 2nd congressional district, in this, Trump still gets it by a likely margin. So on this, it looks like Harris has a little bit of room to expand in North Carolina and Georgia, but Trump could expand by picking up Nevada or Arizona. Also, the 3 Rust Belt states are only a small margin for Harris. Now, if we get back to 538 and take a look at the individual states, you can see in the closest states, it could easily go either way. In Nevada, they have Harris at 54 out of 100. Arizona, she's also at 54. Georgia, Trump is at 53 out of 100. In North Carolina, it's even closer. He's at 52. In the Rust Belt, Harris is over 60 here. She's at 62 in Wisconsin, 63 in Michigan, and back down to 56 in Pennsylvania. So those are all pure coin flips or very close to it. Personally, I think the polls are going to tighten at least a little bit by Election Day. But even right now, I don't think the Harris campaign is going to be feeling too confident. And if it narrows up or even Trump takes the lead, I don't think he's going to be feeling too confident either. If we go down here, we've got the margin of victory in each state. And according to this, the closest one is North Carolina at 0.4%. But again, you've got Georgia, Nevada, and Arizona also under 1%. They also have Florida at 4.1 and Texas at 5. Do I think those margins are possible? Sure, they're going to be possible. But I would think in the end, they would be at least 1 or 2 points redder than that. So you can go all the way down through the other states. There's nothing really too shocking here. A lot of this just seems like it's within a point or two of the 2020 election. So they're not really expecting a whole ton of movement. And I'm not exactly expecting a whole lot either. However, the pollsters are just estimating what the electorate is going to look like. There could end up being a big miss on Election Day, and that technically could go in either direction. In 2016 and 20, most states did underestimate Trump. I think that's much more likely to happen than going in the other direction. But every election is different. Democrats could be more motivated, and some of their voters could end up not being picked up on these polls. So after that, they've got a scatter plot of who would win the election with the Electoral College as well as the popular vote. And finally, they've got a little bit more about their own forecast and some unusual scenarios. So that's where 538 is at as of now. It's possible absolutely nothing changes between now and Election Day, and Harris ekes out a narrow win. Even though with polarization, it's unlikely that her popularity would go even higher. That's also a possibility, and she wins by a comfortable margin. But also in the final month or two, there's a lot of people that might come out to vote that don't necessarily follow politics, and they might not be picked up by pollsters. That's something that could give Trump a boost on Election Day. Turnout and voter enthusiasm are going to be key. Trump has a ton of baggage. I can easily see him going down, but Harris is the party in power, and a lot of voters are dissatisfied with the way things are going. Plus, her popularity was weak up until not that long ago. Seems like with Trump, everybody already knows everything there is to know. With Harris, once she gets more out there, I would think her popularity is going to come back down a little bit closer to where it was just a month or two ago. The real wild card is how many people are going to come out just to vote in favor of Trump and how many people are going to come out just to vote against him. I don't know, but I'm open to a range of different possibilities. So that's it for this look at 538's prediction. We'll see how it changes over time, but let me know in the comments, what do you think about this prediction? Do you think Harris has the edge? Is it going to change by Election Day? Do you think 538 has it all wrong? Do you think they're underestimating Trump? Do you think Harris is going to win by a wider margin? What about the individual states? Let me know down below on your way out. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join if you'd like to support the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.